breaking down the impossibilities of the official 9/11 story. AE911truth.org. For those that don't know, Underwriting Laboratories has been forced to admit that the building fell at free fall, Building 7. The government's been forced to admit it. Richard Gage and others were able to prove this. And Gage has been doing this now, I guess, about 8, 9, 10 years. I forget. And he joins us now to give us the state of 9/11 truth from AE911truth.org and all the new stuff we've been discovering. Richard Gage, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Alex. It's always my honor to be on with you.
Well, there's so much to talk about. Where do we start?
We've got to start about, let's start with September. This September is the 13th anniversary of 9/11. And AE911 Truth has been at it for 8 years since I woke up after hearing David Ray Griffin on the radio, now an author, of course, of 10 books on the subject of 9/11. And we have plans. Last year, we had a $500,000 program raised by donors, $100 increments, to put billboards around the world in 12 international cities, including, of course, New York with our 50-foot-tall billboard. And we are going to be back in New York in a big way because the American people deserve to know what really happened to all three of those towers on 9/11. So since the New York Times, for instance, has been completely censoring the subject of the scientific evidence for the controlled demolition of the three high-rises, we are putting right in their face a 30-foot-tall billboard targeting their chief, what is he, the chief editor. He said, we found no evidence to suggest that anything other than planes brought down the towers. Well, there's all kinds of evidence, and we're putting it right there in front of his nose in this billboard. With the Rethink 9/11 campaign, it says rethink911.org. The evidence might surprise you. So once again, we're back right in front of the faces of not only the New York Times, but in the backyard of the City Hall, who arbitrarily dismissed 30,000 signatures of their citizens who were demanding that we have a ballot initiative called the High Rise Safety Initiative that the New York Coalition for Accountability now has raised 100,000 signatures for. But we're taking the city to court, we being the NYC can, to challenge them on this grievous, irresponsible act, defying the will of the New York people. This initiative will require the investigation of any high-rise that collapses, starting with Building 7, as you highlighted earlier. Here's a 47-story skyscraper, Alex, that dropped into its own footprint on the afternoon of 9/11, just like a controlled demolition. I mean, we're talking free-fall acceleration in under 7 seconds. This massive building, the tallest in most of our states, but of course right next to the Twin Towers, of which it was a part of the World Trade Center, it may not seem that tall. Those were the tallest buildings in the world at one time, but this building drops like a rock. Now, it had 40,000 tons of structural steel in it, and yet to drop at free fall, all 80 columns on at least 8 floors, in this case, would have to have been removed virtually at once. Now, fires, the official cause of this building's collapse, cannot possibly explain that. So we know that individually pre-placed explosives, thousands of them, or incendiaries, in this case, would have to have removed that structural support. So we have all the evidence in our DVD, 9/11 Explosive Evidence, Experts Speak Out. People can just Google Experts Speak Out or go to our website, of course. As you mentioned, it's AE911truth.org, where all this evidence is. And we have put it in a format that activists in New York this September and around the country, in fact, all around the world, can take to friends, relatives, co-workers, elected representatives, media, people in the media. We have a new brochure, which is very, very exciting. 9/11 Truth, Good for America. Why is 9/11 Truth good for America? I mean, this is the subject of your radio show. I mean, there's a reason that you are a hero to millions of people, Alex. You're pointing out the wars of aggression that 9/11 Truth will stop because they started most of them. It'll restore our economy because 9/11 Truth devastated our economy, as you know, with a $4.5 trillion global war on terror that owes its roots to 9/11 and takes its justification from 9/11.
And now, stay there, I want to come back and talk about that. Now, Al-Qaeda in Iraq is IS, armed by our government to attack Syria. Now our government's supposedly fighting them over there, and I've looked at all the videos. Looks like a few trucks getting blown up, totally staged. They're going to use the new Al-Qaeda threat to totally take our freedoms and are saying, get ready for them to hit. And when we bring up, hey, we funded these guys, shut up, conspiracy theorists, when that's a fact. Wow.
Mike Stenerson for Midas Resources. At no time in history have precious metals been more important, certainly not in my 22 years in the industry. The dollar has lost over 90% of its value in the last 60 years. No fiat currency has ever survived the government printing presses. Ours is not immune. The time is now to be proactive. 1-800-686-2237, extension 116. Anything tied to the dollar is at risk. CDs, annuities, 401ks, IRAs, stocks, bonds, you name it, so decide. Do you want to leave a legacy of wealth or debt for your family? The choice is yours. Call me at 1-800-686-2237, extension 116. That's 1-800-686-2237, extension 116. Be proactive, not reactive. Call 1-800-686-2237, extension 116.
Hi, I'm Dr. Edward Group. It took me 20 years of searching the globe to find the deposit of the highest purity iodine available. The new Survival Shield X2 is mined from 7,000 to 10,000 feet below the earth in pristine, environmentally clean conditions. The iodine crystals we use are extracted from an ancient 300 million plus year old deposit deep in the earth. It's the strongest nascent iodine on the market today. It delivers 650 micrograms per drop. Experience the new formula. Experience the ancient purity. Shield your family. Survival Shield X2. Available now at InfoWarsLife.com.
X2 from InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
What good is a Big Berkey water filter?
We get that question a lot here at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And in a word, the answer is protection. Protection from water main breaks, E. coli contamination, environmental chemical spills, pesticide runoff, chlorine taste and smell, and all forms of fluoride. Plus, Big Berkey water filters are the original gravity water filter system and most trusted on the market for a reason. Tested by multiple independent NSF EPA certified labs, they are the gold standard in water purification. At only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. That means big savings. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get a Big Berkey today at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. GCN listeners receive 5% off all ceramic filter systems. Visit our website or call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
We're going to do 5 minutes of Overdrive with Richard Gage. I'll be back tonight, Nightly News, 7 o'clock Central. Our reporters are in Ferguson. Some of the headlines up on Infowars.com. Former CIA officer says ISIS and Mexican drug cartels are communicating and working on the border. James Foley beheading what they're not telling you, a breakdown of how it's meant to launch a new war in Syria to, quote, knock out the group our government funded. This is so sick. Again, school kids suspended and arrested for imagining shooting a dinosaur. See, thought crime. ISIS abducts more Westerners, promises beheadings. UK police merely watching James Foley beheading video is an act of terrorism. So the border's wide open, but we've all got to give our rights up because Al-Qaeda's about to hit us. But then meanwhile, Al-Qaeda's renamed itself and is being allowed to operate. It's the clash of civilization, and the elite use that clash to take over our lives. Talking to the founder and head of AE 9/11 Truth, Architects and Engineers 9/11 Truth, Richard Gage. Richard, we can get into the science all day. Yeah, I was covering the controlled demolition hours after it happened. We've gone through the physics. We've covered it. A lot of people worldwide, a majority, believe that it's a fishy story. A large portion of America, depending on the poll, want a new investigation. This far out from it, I think we've already won in the court of public opinion. People don't buy anything the government says anymore. A lot of conservatives that were mad at me for saying it was an inside job, now looking back, see what a fraud the Iraq war was, see how our government's funding Al-Qaeda today and was doing it then. I don't think we know exactly what happened on 9/11. I'm not saying George Bush had a plunger like Wile E. Coyote blowing up the towers. I just know NORAD stood down. I know there's bombs in those buildings. I know on CNN cops said, get back, they're going to blow it up. They blew it up. I'm not saying those cops did it. They were told, get back. And I talked to the cops, heard the countdown. The Red Cross of all people, who usually your CIA fronts, not your low-level Red Cross, but high-level, folks looked that up, they were getting the countdown. And it was on the news they're going to bring 7 down. I heard it on CBS radio that afternoon. So for me, proving it all, I mean, I heard them say, and we have the newscast, that they were going to blow up Building 7 to protect other buildings. Well, you can't plant bombs in a couple hours. So they didn't want that looked at. The point is they're lying about what really happened, Richard, and they used it to launch all these wars and to set up a police state. And now they say Al-Qaeda's about to hit us again when our government opened the door for them. My rights should not be taken because this criminal government is allowing Al-Qaeda to survive and thrive. What do you get off that basic gestalt statement I just made?
What we need to realize is that if people just listen to Alex Jones and don't do anything about his message or the message of AE 9/11 Truth, then we'll get what we got for the last 13 years into the greatest crime of the century. So what we're doing this September is to respond to exactly that question. We're taking action, and we're encouraging all of your listeners to take action where they can. If they can come to New York, we'll have the premiere of Anatomy of a Great Deception, which is one man's effort to resolve his own inner conflict upon waking up to the scientific evidence of 9/11, as presented by AE 9/11 Truth in the case of David Hooper, this filmmaker. So at 2 p.m. on September 11th, we want everybody to come to the premiere downtown New York. And then on Friday, we're going to be doing street actions in front of the New York Times to wake people up, employees and visitors. We're going to also be in front of the 9/11 Museum, one of the greatest, second greatest frauds in history, to ensconce the official story with our alternative guide to the museum, what you will not see in the museum. And then on Saturday, we'll have a conference at 2 p.m. on the 13th. So we've got to take action, and that's what got us on C-SPAN, is taking action.
I want to talk about C-SPAN. Stay there. We're back in 1 minute. So important to expose 9/11 because they're getting ready to launch more false flags, like Oklahoma City, to blame it on the Liberty Movement. We must break the weapon of the false flag.
This is Scottish John for Infowars.com. I know that most of you here in this commercial already know about the New World Order, eugenics, and all the other issues covered here at Infowars. The question is, do your friends and family know? If not, then I want to know why. Oh, I know it's tough to talk about this with some people. They might call you names, or they just want to talk about sports or soap operas. I say, so what? There's a battle going on out there right now. The ammunition is information, and the soldiers are you. It's time to transform your game from passive listening listener to active participant. We from Scotland have had our skin in this game for the greater part of the last 1,000 years, and I'm still fighting. If we don't all stand up right now, we're going to lose everything. The InfoWar is worldwide. Tell your friends about InfoWars and let them know that InfoWars doesn't print bull. It's real journalism and news backed up by documented fact. Step up and take your friends and family to InfoWars.com, PrisonPlanet.tv and PlanetInfoWars.com. The truth will set them free.